Hello friends, I am Arpit and I am here with today's analysis. Today is 6th of July and we are going to deal with two very important topics which are in news. First is the Korean War. This war started during the initial years of the Cold War era. Korea was under the Japanese colonial rule. Japan, which was part of the Axis powers, lost the Second World War and hence the power was transferred to the Allied powers. Now this Korea was divided between USSR and USA to rule. USSR was ruling over North Korea, USA was ruling over South Korea, and fighting started between North Korea and South Korea. This war has had repercussions till now. Now we could see the Russian president visiting North Korea, strengthening its relationship with North Korea. South Korea has always been an ally of the West. So, are we returning towards the Cold War era period? This is the big question which is worrying us as of now. Next is the Arctic wildfires. You might be surprised that are there wildfires in the Arctic region as well? Yes, there are, and this is a natural phenomena to happen over there in the Arctic region. But in the recent past, the intensity and frequency of Arctic wildfires have increased, courtesy global warming or climate change. Arctic wildfires are more dangerous for the entire planet because it leads to thawing of the permafrost. Thawing of the permafrost releases gases like methane and other carbon gases which are trapped in it, which further, fuels global warming, and global warming can further fuel, Arctic wildfires. This thawing of permafrost can also lead to spread of deadly pandemics which are more deadlier or which will be more deadlier than the COVID-19 pandemic. This is what the scientists say. So, we need to take care of these wildfires in the Arctic region. Then we will come to the MCQs and then we will discuss the MCQs of yesterday. So, this Korean War, it began on June 25, 1950, that is 1945, the Second World War ended. World War II was between the Allied powers and the Axis powers. Allied powers, USA, USSR, England and France. Axis powers, Japan, Germany and Italy. So, Allied powers won the Second World War, and as the Second World War ended, there was this Cold War which started between USA and USSR. Cold War was all about who will extend more influence over the world. They had differing ideologies. USSR was promoting socialist ideology, USA was promoting capitalist ideology. Who will spread more, or which ideology will spread more, will decide the winner. And then there was this race. The Korean Peninsula was under the Japanese control. Japan, which had lost the Second World War, had to give up its control over the Korean Peninsula. And the future of Korean Peninsula had to be decided by the Allied powers now. Who among the Allied powers? USA and USSR. Half of Korean Peninsula was undertaken by USSR, that is North Korea. Half was taken by USA, that is South Korea. And then war started between the North Koreans and the South Koreans. North Koreans were having socialist ideology. They wanted to spread this socialist ideology in the entire Korean Peninsula. South Koreans were having capitalist ideology. Since USA was there, they wanted to spread this ideology towards in the entire peninsula. This led to warlike situations, and the warlike situations are still continuing. So, this Cold War shaped the geopolitical landscape of East Asia and impacted global affairs. It also resulted in a massive loss of life, with estimates suggesting around 2.5 million people, including civilians and military personnel. They perished. When did the war end? Despite the cessation of active hostilities, the war was never formally ended. The reason it is also called as the forgotten war sometimes. Why we are saying that the war has not formally ended? Because it concluded with an armistice agreement that nobody will fire on July 27, 1953 rather than a peace treaty. Peace treaty would be a much widely accepted document or a much weighted document as compared to armistice that would have resolved the conflict, would have established diplomatic ties between North and South Korea, but that did not happen. That has not happened till date. Hence, we say that the war is still ongoing, but this armistice is there, means kind of a ceasefire is there. So, technically they are still at war. What led to the divide of the Korean Peninsula? The war was a result of Cold War tensions. North Korea, South Korea, North Korea, socialist, South Korea, capitalist, and the rivalry for supremacy between the communist Soviet Union and the liberal capitalist United States of America. Korea before the Cold War, several dynasties ruled Korea before some uniting the entire region, such as the Silla dynasty in the 7th century. Silla dynasty united entire Korea. Korea then came under Japanese colonial rule from 1910 till 1945, and it ended with Japan's surrender in World War II, this Japanese rule over there. After that, it came under USA and USSR's rule. The aftermath of World War II means what happened during the initial times or initial era of Cold War. To manage Japanese surrender, allied forces comprising US and USSR, UK and France were also there, but yes, USA and USSR are main players over here. They agreed to a temporary division of Korea into two occupation zones. Temporary division. Soviet Union to control the north, US to control the south. And 38th parallel was drawn to divide DPRK, that is Democratic People's Republic of Korea, which we know as North Korea, and ROK, that is Republic of Korea, which we know as South Korea. So, this was drawn. Demilitarized zone runs along the 38th parallel. Demilitarized zone means we cannot establish military over here in this zone. Army members of both countries guard it on either side. So, this is what the arrangement is. It was divided temporarily to manage the situation over there in Korea, but that resulted into this deep division. What happened after drawing the 38th parallel? The North, which was under the Soviet Union, helped establish communist regime led by Kim Il-sung, a former guerrilla fighter and Soviet trained leader. In the South, the United States supported the creation of a capitalist state under Syngman Rhee, an anti-communist leader who had spent many years in exile in the United States. By 1948, two separate governments were officially established: Democratic People's Republic of Korea, North Korea, and Republic of Korea, South Korea. So, this is what happened, each claiming legitimacy over the entire peninsula. They want legitimacy over entire peninsula, and that is the war what is now. Means North Korea wants the entire peninsula, South Korea wants the entire peninsula. So, this is the main reason for the war. The outbreak, when did the outbreak happen? June 25, 1950, North Korean forces backed by Soviet Union and China, because North Korea was under Soviet's control and China was also a communist country, so they were backing North Korea, launched a surprise invasion of South Korea by crossing the 38th parallel. Invasion began in the early morning and caught the South Korean army and its American allies off guard. North Korean forces quickly advanced, overwhelming the South Korean defenses and capturing key areas including capital Seoul. This alarmed the international community and prompted United Nations to intervene. So, United Nations decided to intervene, and when United Nations intervened, it gave permission to the countries to directly indulge in the conflict and use or give military support to South Korea. UN Security Council passed a resolution condemning the invasion and calling for a withdrawal of North Korean forces from South Korea. In another UNSC resolution on June 27, it was declared that North Korean actions constituted a breach of peace. UN members were recommended to assist South Korea against the attack and restore peace on the Korean Peninsula. In response, a coalition of UN forces, primarily led by United States, intervened directly, militarily, in that conflict, which resulted in millions of casualties, that is 2.5 million people died. This legacy still continues, means North Korea versus South Korea. How? It has had far-reaching impacts for the regional security, contributing to militarization of Korean Peninsula. The entire Korean Peninsula, whether it be North or South, it was militarized. Ongoing tensions between the two Koreas and between North Korea and the West, that continued. It also solidified the allegiance between United States and South Korea. The US established a lasting military presence in South Korea by stationing American troops and remains committed to defending it against any external aggression. So there is this agreement between South Korea and USA which is still there, that in case South Korea is attacked by any external aggression, it will be supported militarily by USA. Very recently, North Korea has come into such kind of an agreement with Russia, that if in case of any external aggression against North Korea, Russia militarily will support North Korea. So are we polarizing the world? Are we moving towards that? That is the major cause of concern, like we were polarized during the Cold War era. The world was a bipolar world. Is Russia projecting itself to be at par with USA by signing this agreement with North Korea very recently? That is why this is also in news which we are discussing. China's entry into the war demonstrated its commitment to supporting communist regimes. China and North Korea largely maintain a close strategic partnership, with China being a key economic and diplomatic ally of North Korea. So China and Russia, they both are also having this friendship with no boundaries or friendship with no limits. Now China also supporting North Korea. So polarization is happening, where in one side we have countries like China, Russia and North Korea, and on the other side we have the developed West, capitalist West. Problems for India will remain, but yes, India at that time also followed this non-aligned stand. Now also India can follow this stand because we have inherited this stand from the past, but yes, it is not easy to follow this stand. It is difficult. With the Prime Minister's visit to Russia scheduled in a few days from now, definitely will tell us a lot about what happened over there. Arctic wildfires, second topic. So wildfires in the Arctic region, that is the northern part, this is Arctic region over here, is natural. But yes, it darkened the skies over the Arctic. It is the third time in the past 5 years that high intensity fires have erupted in the region, Europe's Copernicus Climate Change Service, that is C3S, said last week. Majority of fires are in Sakha, Russia, where more than 160 wildfires charred nearly 460,000 hectares of land till June 24 this year. Are wildfires natural in the Arctic region? Yes, they are a natural phenomenon in the Arctic region. But yes, their frequency and scale in the region have increased, primarily due to global warming. More worryingly, these blazing wildfires are fueling the climate crisis. They are further fueling climate crisis or further fueling global warming. This is what they are doing. How they are doing it, I'll show you. This is a map which shows total annual carbon emissions from high latitude wildfires. So if you see June, July, August and other months, you will see the maximum in 2020. If you see in the subarctic land, that is 60 degree north to 66 degree north, you will find. And when we talk about the warming of Arctic region, that is warming at a much rapid pace, much faster pace as compared to the warming of the subarctic portion. Like for example, the global average temperature has increased by at least 1.1 degrees Celsius above the pre-industrial levels. Arctic has become on an average around 3 degrees Celsius warmer than it was in 1980. So the rate of increase of temperature in Arctic is higher than the rate of increase of temperature in the subarctic region. UPSC gives these kind of statements. This fast-paced warming has led to more frequent lightning in the Arctic. More frequent lightning is also happening. Lightning means bijli kadakna, which has further increased the likelihood of wildfires. So they cause wildfires, the lightning episodes and all. Third is, soaring temperatures have also slowed down the polar jet streams. Polar jet streams means which are going from the subarctic to the Arctic region, responsible for circulating air between the mid and northern latitudes. So these polar jet streams are like these, from mid to polar region. Due to less of a temperature difference. Temperature difference is not much. Arctic region has been warming. We saw that. The temperature difference made these winds blow, but less temperature difference is there. So these winds get stuck in one place, bringing unreasonably warm weather to the region. It also blocks out low pressure systems, which brings clouds and rainfall, possibly leading to intense heat waves, which can cause more wildfires. So heat waves are there also, but heat waves are subjective in nature. Like 26 degrees Celsius is a heat wave in UK. Here 10 degrees Celsius will also be considered as a heat wave. In India, more than 40 degrees Celsius is considered as a heat wave. So it is subjective. Don't go on that कि heat wave तो वहाँ नहीं आ सकता. It cannot be there. It can be there. How Arctic wildfires can exacerbate global warming? How they can increase global warming? It is simple. Arctic wildfires will lead to the thawing or melting of permafrost. Permafrost is that land which has been frozen completely for at least 2 years. And once it is frozen, though, a lot of remains or fossils of the dead animals and all are there. So once it melts, emission of carbon gases happens, including methane, and methane is a high potential global warming gas. So the thawing of permafrost will lead to carbon emissions, increased carbon emissions, which will cause global warming. That is why these wildfires are due to global warming first of all, and they will further fuel global warming. Cycle will be made. We have to break that cycle. When wildfires ignite, they burn vegetation and organic matter, releasing the heat, trapping greenhouse gases. So these greenhouse gases will be released, such as carbon dioxide and all, due to those wildfires. Wildfires will also release carbon gases. That is not a problem. This happens in subarctic regions also. That is a problem per se, but yes, that is not the major problem in Arctic region. Those wildfires will release carbon gases, which will cause global warming. But the major problem in the case of Arctic wildfires, such as GHG emissions, are not the biggest worry. It is rather the carbon stored in the underneath region's permafrost, which is permanently frozen for the last 2 years. That gets melted, and then there will be emissions, methane, CO2 and all, and the emissions will be 51 times, or the storage of that carbon is 51 times the amount of the carbon the world releases as fossil fuel emissions in 2019. So this is dangerous. The consequences of wildfires in the Arctic region: this can cause ancient organic matter such as dead animals and plants to decompose and release carbon into the atmosphere. In case a large scale thawing of Arctic permafrost is triggered, it would be impossible to stop the release of carbon. This would mean that the world will not be able to limit the global warming within the 1.5 degrees Celsius threshold. We've discussed this, that this 1.5 degree Celsius threshold has to be met by 2100. Breaching the limit will result in catastrophic and irreversible consequences for the planet, including spread of pandemic diseases. So scientists predict that pandemic diseases of that deadly nature can be spread, which you cannot even imagine. What happens in the Arctic doesn't stay there, it impacts the entire world. So we need to be very careful with respect to this. Now coming to the MCQs. The first question: consider the following statements and mark the correct one. First is, the Korean War was primarily due to the Cold War rivalry. USA intervened directly in the war to militarily help South Korea. Which of these statements are correct? You have to find out. Second question, very simple. Which line divides North and South Korea? I'm not going to read out the options also of this. I think this question should be attempted without options. Consider the following statements and mark the correct one. First, wildfires in Arctic are not a natural phenomena. Wildfires in Arctic have started to occur more frequently in the last 5 years. Which of these statements are correct? Which among the following are the factors responsible for Arctic wildfires? First, heat waves in the Arctic region. Second, frequent lightning. Only one, only two, both 1 and 2, or neither 1 nor 2. And the last question, which of the following can be a consequence of Arctic wildfires? Global warming, increased methane emissions, more pandemics. Which among these statements are true? Now, yesterday's MCQs, which we have to discuss. The first question, which of the following countries is not considered as part of the Central Asian Republic? Central Asian Republic comprises of 5 stans, I told you. How to memorize? Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, 2 stans from K, Uzbekistan, 1 stan starting from U, and 2 stans starting from T, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan. So these 5 stans are part of Central Asian region. However, among these 5 stans, 1 stan, that is Turkmenistan, is not part of SCO, Shanghai Cooperation Organization. The remaining 4 are part of SCO. But the question here is, which of the following countries is not considered as part of Central Asian Republic? Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, all are part of CAR. This should be the right answer. Second question, which of the following countries were part of Shanghai 5? China, Russia, Turkmenistan, Tajikistan. Now, here yesterday I gave a wrong option, but yes, I'll correct that. Shanghai 5, China, Russia, Tajikistan. These 3 countries were there. So 1, 2 and 4 is the correct option, whereas the option which I gave in yesterday's video was 1 and 4 only, but yes, it should be read as 1, 2 and 4, and this is the right answer. Turkmenistan, neither part of Shanghai 5 nor it is part of SCO. Third, consider the following statements and mark the correct one. SCO has one of its objectives of fighting terrorism, which is correct. India is a founding member of SCO, which is wrong. India is not a founding member of SCO. SCO was formed in 2001. India joined SCO in 2017 along with Pakistan. So this statement is not correct, this statement is correct, so only one is the right answer of this question. Which of the following entities are part of United Kingdom? Ireland, England, Scotland, Wales. So Wales is part of it, Scotland is part of it, England is part of it. When you read Ireland, it simply means complete Ireland, but North Ireland is only part of UK. So this is wrong, and the correct answer is 2, 3 and 4, that is B. Consider the following statements and mark the correct one. The UK has a parliamentary form of government, which is true. The head of the state of UK is directly chosen by the people. This is wrong. Head of the state of UK is the king now. Earlier it was the queen. So only one statement is correct. This is the correct answer. An update about UK elections. The Labour Party has won 410 seats in UK, which will be coming to power after 14 years, replacing the Conservative government. So let's see how relations between India and the Labour Party of UK will be from here on. And with this, we come to an end of today's session. I will be meeting you tomorrow now with more such informative news pieces. Till then, you guys very well know what to do. Namaste.